it's very clever, Christine, which is that you guys, in fact, are building the supply side of the equation through your education and through your certification. Talk a little bit about that, because Mark, I noticed you mentioned the word consistent 4 or 5 times, and that's a really important thing. I can imagine. I'm not by no means an expert in mental health. I don't yet. I'm sure I have plenty of time for therapy in the future, but I can assume that that's one of the big problems is different therapists think about things differently.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that, how you make consistency and how do you build the certification program?
And so just through my own experience, becoming a clinician, the reason there aren't enough providers in the US is there's two ways to become a mental therapist. One is to become a clinical psychologist, which is harder to get into than medical school. And so it just excludes so many possible people to do it. Or you can become a master's level therapist, which is only 2 years of training. But then you have to work under a supervisor and basically educate yourself through institutes and all sorts of other self postgraduate learning. And so what we discovered was that 54% of the graduates of these 2 year programs never become fully licensed therapists because they just drop off. They can't they can't educate themselves to the point, and this is why there's not clinicians of color. This is why it's just very exclusionary, because if you're going to graduate with all of these student loans and then not be able to make enough money to get yourself through this licensing period.
Yeah.
And I had the tremendous luck and privilege to be able to fund my education and get through the process and have my own private practice and have business skills to develop my own private practice so I could make a great living doing all of this. Therapists don't have that. Most people become a therapist for very different reasons, and so they just that's why it's so exclusionary and why people have just trouble accessing.
I got you. So explain to me, Mark, the therapists that go through your certification, they are now in your marketplace, and you basically are helping them you provide business to them, and of course, they're there in a steady fashion for a period of time to provide that consistency for you. So it's kind of that's the flywheel of how things go.
Absolutely. We employ them as W-2 employees. It's not the Uber of therapy. We are a practice. We hire people. We train them. We are a learning accelerant. Once they get to 100 sessions per month, we provide healthcare coverage. And so we create an environment where they can learn and they can develop themselves for the 3 years where they need to be supervised and they need to learn. At the end of the 3 years, they can decide if they want to become supervisor themselves, which is an incremental source of revenue for them, and stay with us, or if they want to leave and have their own practice. And so that's what we do. And the Moat is a methodology, an online training institute, a full stack software where we measure everything and we can help them, and then a suite of insurance partnership.